Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we've seen the dollar try and make a hold here. I posted the chart during the night or Asian session. I was looking for about 96.63. Actually, now on this chart, that we're on the other chart. 96.63 is where I thought we might dip to, and that kind of corresponded with the euro coming up here to 13.29. And we certainly have gone there now. One moment. And we're seeing here that we do have data coming up here at the bottom of the hour. We do have the Centix index. Reuters post for 2.9. The prior was 5.3. Okay. And we also have UK data, claimant count, and ILO employment rate. But we have Centix index that'll be at the bottom of the hour. And let's go on and move into the news. Doing a quick overview of this, we are seeing here, see the cash dollar trying to make it here. There I was looking at the quicker charts, 15-minute, but you can see the dollar index has come right back into this level. I thought we might dip down here to 96.63, kind of hold, trying to make a stand right there. I thought we might dip down there. That was my thought, to 96.63. Came up, let's see, it looked like it went down to about 68, 69. And dollar yen still holding here. We've seen the S&P still holding up very, very high. And cable's been relatively quiet. And peso's still pushing the lows here. Not a whole lot has developed, like I said, other than the euro had pushed higher. We had some of that silly talk and some people thinking that because the euro hadn't even bolted to even higher highs that, it was in danger. Now I think the euro can pull back. The dollar has a chance to go on and hold here. But like I said, we saw the dip yesterday and we saw the euro come back from that. Actually, from those lows, rally 40 pips. We made it up here to 1330, and we're down there 1290, 1291. I think we got up here to about 1332, 33. So let's go on and, as I said, move into the news. Morning bids, Sanchez socialists up ante for the government deal. Spain's Pedro Sanchez, invited last week by King Felipe VI to try and form a government without a parliamentary majority, pursues meetings today with leaders of the various opposition parties aimed at winning their support. The talks are proving difficult. The right-wing People's Party and the center-right Ciudadanos have said that they will both seek to block Sanchez's swearing in. The left-wing Podemos has continued its support on solace with Sanchez's government, something the socialists have ruled out. On Monday evening, this party sought out to by the stakes by threatening a call to a fresh ballot if opposition parties persisted in blocking him. Well, the news out of Spain isn't getting the strength that it did, just a few years ago, where it really, shake the markets a bit. And it just simply isn't getting that we saw. But anyway, that's the news there. Moving on to the markets. Global stock markets pushed higher for the seventh straight day. Only the second time this year, the all-country index has staged such a winning streak as investors bet on U.S. interest rate cuts and some easing of international trade tensions. Shanghai stocks led the way early on Tuesday, jumping more than 2% as the People's Bank of China moved to stabilize the offshore yuan, and the government announced another set of stimulus measures involving infrastructure, targeted bond financing to local authorities. The offshore yuan strengthened further from the 2019 lows that it had set on Friday, and confusion over whether China's authorities were prepared to defend psychologically the important 7 per dollar level. But on Tuesday, the PBO said it would sell yen-denominated bills into the Hong Kong market, ostensibly to tighten yuan liquidity there and support the currency. The Hang Seng Index rose almost 1%, while the Tokyo's Nikkei and Seoul's Kospi closed higher also. The All Emerging Equity Index rose to its highest in a month, while its EM Currency Index was higher too. The big picture remains one of economic anxiety, however, with the yield curve between 3 and 10 years inverted to the tune of 15 basis points. In Europe, Germany's Bund yield relapsed again to the minus 22.5 basis points, and heightened speculation the European Central Bank could stood ready to cut benchmark interest rates again if necessary. The euro was just steady above 113, with the dollar generally firmer across the board. Italy's fractious ruling coalition leaders continue to make soothing noises about avoiding a row with Brussels over Italy's breach of European Union budget rules, and PM Conte's offices of the PM and heads of the ruling parties would meet with Finance Minister Tria to set out a shared budget package acceptable to the EU Commission. The moves also ease concerns about a snap election, with UK political headlines dominated by the ruling Conservative Party's leadership race, starting markets focus back on the economy. Poor GDP and manufacturing numbers for April will now be set against the latest employment and wage report later today. And the yen dips on Mexico release, but U.S.-Sino tensions check sentiment. Yen eased on Tuesday as investors' risk appetite ticked up against the United States and showed plans to impose tariffs on Mexico, though fresh U.S. trade tariffs against China tempered overall market sentiment. Financial markets over the last year has been gripped by fears of escalating trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. Against the safe haven, the yen, the dollar, nearly advanced 0.2 to 108.62.5 yen. President Trump said on Monday he was ready to impose another round of tariffs on Chinese imports if he does not reach a deal with the China president at the G20 summit in Osaka. Since the 2 days of talks to settle the U.S. trade dispute since last month in Washington ended in a stalemate, Trump has repeatedly said he expected to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping at the G20 gathering. It might not happen if the Chinese side thinks there isn't any point of me having a meeting if the opinions are far from apart, said Yukio Ishizuki. Trump has been applying pressure by emphasizing there'll surely be a meeting, but it isn't clear what the Chinese side will do. Broader market sentiment got a lift for the U.S.-Mexican trade immigration deal. Avoidance of the tariffs on Mexican goods are supporting risk sentiment, said Masafumi Yamamoto. In an offshore trade, the Chinese yuan was up 0.2 at 63.91 yuan. So not really a whole lot to go there. And we'll pull this up. We had a bias chart at 1324. We actually came up here this morning up to 1331.8, maybe 1332. Here, we'll just mark the resistance. Well, that is the resistance. You see where that came across? I didn't even notice that right there. You see that? Right across that close, that's where it ran into resistance at 32. We'll mark that as resistance. The only thing is on the 2-hour close, take a look here. Didn't take out the 24, so that really holds there. We do have the Centex index. I guess we'll go with this 1332 because when you look on the daily, coming across right there, that's 1332. Right there. If we do go on and slide back, I think it's open to get a pullback here. We're actually going to put this just a little bit lower to here. 1272. I think there's an opening for us to, if we fail here, or we struggle, let's not say fail necessarily, but struggle here. And we did make that push from the Asian session. Then we finally got that push this morning. If we do, and they just pushed them up in here, and we can't get beyond this 1324 on a 2-hour close, then the door's open potentially if the dollar comes back for us to come into this 1272. Well, let's go with this. And moving on to the cable. Cable's been very, very quiet. We'll go on and take a look here on the 2-hour chart. We did have 2682. I mean, they're above it now, but they've actually dipped as low as right in here. There's 2654. Let's move this just a hair lower, right to there. 2672. Although the dollar but now let's just move this just a hair lower, which is going to be 2672. We'll still go and keep the upside bias chart resistance, 2744. You can see how these markets are trading very, very quiet here overall. I think things will start to heat up a little bit. We had 69.60. We've even gotten past that, so we actually come back to test this level. We almost made it there, so we'll use that as our bias chart resistance, 69.44. It's surprising because if you think about it, as you know, where the dollar has been, on the weak side, and obviously we saw the euro press up to the 13.31, 32. The Aussie has continued to remain weak. Um, you would think with the dollar weakening, not that we would have taken off and gone gangbusters and potentially come up here to 70.70, but at least at the worst case, we would have treaded water. We haven't even done that. So resistance now. We'll keep it at this 70.27 for now, but certainly not doing very well. We'll move into the Kiwi, which has fared better than the Aussie, but it's also weakening quite a bit. We had 66.91, which kept it in check on Friday, but we started to slide back in here. Resistance is going to come in right there, 66.63. And for support, that's going to come in right there, 65.74. And let's go into the peso. Well, the peso's had one heck of a slide back here. Um, I'm thinking there's a potential for us to slide even down here, but I think anybody that's long has pretty much got their clock wound. But there might have been some value buyers down here. We mentioned this 23.6. So I may push this market just a little bit lower. And we'll go right there for 1906 for a quick drop down to 1906. Resistance will be this 1923.6. And obviously it's no longer bullish, it's turned bearish. Well, it did break above that trend line, but it's and as long as it holds above the trend line, I'll show you what we're talking about. But we're below 23.6, so that wouldn't be bullish at all. You see that we've broken above the trend line. You can see here the importance of 1923.6. I hate to say it's straight up bearish, although it lost a 42, so let's go bearish, because I certainly wouldn't want to point that necessarily as in a range. We'll go to the dollar yen. Let's take a look at this on the 2-hour chart. Well, the 23% comes in at 108.98. I'm going to stick with this 108.76. And for now, keeping it pretty tight, the 108.36 on the support. We're going to move into the cash dollar index. Remember, we do have data at the bottom of the hour. Got the Centex index. Prior was 5.3. They're looking for 2.9. And we also have employment change here in the UK and ILO employment rate. Change, you're looking for 10,000 gain and 3.8% on the ILO unemployment rate. And claimant count of 22.9K. As we move into the States, might as well go and touch on this ahead of the data. This is very, very slow. We haven't seen that much movement overall. Euro New Zealand continues to move up, and we'll talk about that. And we got to a very key level here in the Euro Aussie that we covered on the Asian analysis before the start of the week, and actually hit that level, the 62.62. We're actually above it at this point. But business optimism index, but the big driver is going to be this PPI. That'll kind of give us a jolt in a direction, so to speak. And at 8 o'clock, we do have Mexican data industrial output. And later on today, Kiwi data and consumer sentiment for Australia. Depending on your neck of the woods, whether that be later today or probably early tomorrow. Well, we had our resistance at 96.91 yesterday, and actually that was, we had it higher than that. But I mean, from the Asian analysis to start the week, that was our first line of resistance. And that was where it went to, and it actually turned back. I thought we might be able to push a little bit higher up into the 97.11. And we're going to go and keep that 97.11, although certainly it's from 74. That's a pretty good little rally to get back. That's, you're looking at about 40 ticks. So you may have a struggle with that. We broke this trend line. We've come here to the 38%. We're not getting much lift off this 38%. And that 96.91 held the market basically to the tick. I thought we would have seen maybe a little bit more of a move, above, maybe to challenge 97, and we didn't even get that. As I mentioned in the Asian analysis, we're now in sell mode here on the exponential moving averages, so really any moves back was going to be sold, but I was thinking we might be able to push back. Now, with the PPI data, maybe we can. That'll be something that we'll be looking at as we come into the U.S. session to give us a direction on, will this dollar start to lean back? We were talking about from the Asian analysis, the next key level was a pivot of 24 and then '06. So we're going to stick around. We're going to stay with the 97.11. And then on the support, what I thought we were going to hit this overnight or into the early European hours, I thought we were going to come down here at 96.63. I really did. I posted a chart there. So I thought we'd dip there. And I guess the dollar's weaker on other accounts because to me, that was going to confluence with the euro hitting the 96.30 area, which obviously got to 31. But the euro already got there, yet the dollar was still holding firmer here. I thought we would have taken that. I thought that was, if it hit that, then that would have filled that area and would have been a great place, based on where the euro was. But the euro did get to its area. So I don't know. That's not even that far. Let's go on and give it to 96.52, or see, that would actually be going back to 96.51 with Friday's bias chart low. Let's go into the 2 hour. Let's go with 96.58, which is going to be just a hair lower. If it goes down there and challenges those lows and then ends up holding, then that would allow it to have a little short-term bottom. So let's just move this just slightly lower. We had the 51, but well, from what I thought we were going to do 63 in the Asian session. Let's just move this up here to 8. Thinking that we just come down here and hit new lows, kind of hold this area. I think is a possibility. And the same thing with the euro. You can see the euro bounced up to, I think, 24 maybe, and now it's already starting to slide back. And that's my take here on the euro. I like the euro, and then that's why I thought it was just ridiculous. People saying, "Oh, well, it could have followed through more," and I thought it was crazy. Now that being said, and my point being is because the euro had already rallied 150 points, 150 pips in 24 hours. I mean, holy smokes, what more do you want out of this thing after it's been in Deadsville? But I think that the market may struggle here. We'll see what happens with the PPI data, but not they'll struggle, but I'm thinking the moves to go beyond here, we've already had such a good run here, okay? We were just look, it wasn't that long ago, we were at 1180. And look, we got all the way up to 13, nearly 1350. So you're talking about, what, 190 pips, essentially, for that move. That's why I think that if it comes up here, it's going to struggle a little bit. I think it needs to come back down maybe towards this 1270-ish, 1275-ish, and try and hold there, and then we can launch it. Basically, come back, pick up some people that would like it, and then we make a move. I think here it's a little bit stretched. I think a lot of this move was made on the backs of shorts who had to cave in. So that's what I'm thinking, that same reason why once we got up here to 30, we quickly gave it back. Not a whole lot, but we gave it back. So I'd be looking for this to come in and fill a little bit. We've got data. So I spent a little bit of extra time. Here's a cash dollar index. Here's a euro. Got the cable there. Let's go on and move this here. There we go. Put it just like that. So we got the Senex index. Reuters post for 2.9. Just came out. Minus 0.3, 3.3. Whoa, negative. UK data came out too. And the euro's not doing that much with that data, surprisingly. Not a whole lot. Let's move this here. Oh, let's go on and switch over the screens. So not a whole lot here with the Kiwi yen here. Not a whole lot at all. And as I mentioned, we've stayed relatively quiet. I think once we can get past PPI, we'll probably move a little bit more. But um, we had 71.67. Here we are at 71.61. And it has been under pressure now. Like I said, it actually had the Kiwi been outperforming the Aussie. But obviously we have this is a level back, a retest potentially of 71.45. So we got to recognize that. So be just one moment. Next up, the euro yen. Certainly the door's open to this 38%. Let's go and take a look here at the 2-hour chart. This is a pair that everybody was thinking was going to make a move higher, and it didn't. Now, that being said, we got resolution with the tariffs with Mexico. The S&Ps are still way up there. So once again, yes, we're moving now, but at this point, now we're coming up to this 123. But at this point, not where it was last week. It was, but remember, it's supposed to be early last week. We're supposed to be hitting 122 and a half, 123, and it didn't make it. Now we're starting to push higher. So right now, resistance would come in. Look at 23.10. Let's go a little bit higher. 23.17. Right there. 23.17. We can stretch up there. On a short-term basis, it's bullish. So let's go on in. Support is going to be there, 22.45. And let's go and look at the Euro Aussie. Now in the Euro Aussie, we put on here that that the upside challenge of 62.62 is in the cards. Now, obviously, we've bolted up here and we've made it up to the 62.62, and we're trying to push even beyond that at this point. Let's take a look at where we stand here on the 2-hour chart. $63.15. It's called 63.13. 63.13. Potentially, that looks like we can go on and run to. There is some resistance there, 62.83. And then beyond that, 63.13. So let's go with 62.83. That's where they were running into trouble at. Look at 87. Let's go with the 62.83. Maybe we can get a little bit of pause here because maybe we are expecting the euro to weaken a little bit. They did make it up to 87, so this is not a bad area right here. If you were bearish, but it certainly looks overall it wants to move higher. But remember, we had the 62, 62, then that 62, 83 is coming across, and we made up to 62.87. Support now would come in. $62.22. And go to the Euro Kiwi. The Euro's already at 13.15, so it's struggling here. But of course, we know the Kiwi's been into some trouble. We can still scoot up a little bit higher. That's key resistance at 72.21. But before you get there, 71.77, which we just tagged. Let's go with 71.77 here. Support comes in right there, 71.02 for now on a short-term basis. And let's go into the ASEAN. Boy, this thing is dead in the water. We're not going anywhere. No changes here. No changes. We're dead in the water here. Let's go to the guppy. this more. Market's trying to pick itself up just a little bit. You see here? Let's go and take a look at it on the 2-hour chart. Well, this held in here, and we'll keep that. Was 37.57. That held. And resistance was just a little bit lower. Call it 38.45 for now. 38.45. Which is barely starting to peak up a little bit here. So it looks like things are getting a little bit more positive for the starting pairs. We've even seen cable move up just a little bit, not a whole lot. Let's take a look here on the 2-hour. Support held here. Which is the 81.85. Actually, we've even had it even higher than that here. Move that up to 82.26. Looks like it's going to be 82.91. Till we build up some further momentum, we're not going to get too overly excited. Right there. 82.88. If we stretch a little bit higher. $82.96. As I mentioned, we do have data this in the New York session PPI that may make the determiner to get this euro and to push into a direction. Um, as I said, I'm bullishly constructive of the euro. Really, it's to a certain extent, it is a default of the dollar, but I think the euro needs to pull down to about the 12.75 to pick up some passengers for the next move up. I think this stretch here, as I mentioned, we had a lot of doubters last week, and I think this was made up on the backs of the bears. Okay, and we saw some pretty good dips in here. Uh, so coming back up here, do you want to be a buyer of the euro at 13.25? Now, like I said, I've made the case as I did on Face. I think it was last Thursday. You know, the last 2.5 months, you could buy the dollar on the breakout. You could buy the dollar on the dip. You could wake up in the morning, scratch your eyes, scratch your head, open your eyes, and just hit the buy button, and you were going to get paid anyway buying the dollar. And I think it's flipped now the other direction. So now it's kind of like, as a de facto, I mean, the euro is 56% of the cash dollar index. It's now to a certain extent with the euro. But that being said, I think that it's a little bit tough to have made that kind of run off of these lows in a very short order and then turn around and even add further on it. So I think that this has the susceptibility to come down to maybe to 12.70, 12.75, and then we can pick up some passengers for another run back up, which probably coincides with the cash dollar trying to put in a move maybe to 97.11, 20-ish right here. I thought we'd make it a 63. We haven't. Maybe we'll make a dip, maybe on PPI, and then from there I think we could hold, and then the rallies, if we get the rally in dollar, that will be used as an opportunity to sell. But that's my take on that. Here's the bias chart. I'll get that posted. We'll see you in the room. And thanks for joining us here on the European Crossover.